A lot of time people say things are hard because they've never done it. The one thing I've learned is don't listen to advice from the non-achievers. It might sound crude and rude, but it's just a fact. Listen to those that have gone through it because they will inspire you and they know what's expected. You know, you never hear bad advice from people saying you can't do it that have done it.
I'm very excited, Phil. Welcome to Be The Drop.
Fantastic, Amelia. Great to be up here.
We're going to start with your item of significance. So that's something that connects you with your community and gives us a little bit of background about you. So I know you've got it. How about you explain it for us?
I don't know why this came to mind, but this here is a sheet of waterproof membrane that my father had developed when I got involved in business almost 30 years ago. And when you said bring an item of significance, this just was the first thing that came to my head when I read what you wanted. And where I am today, everything sort of leads back to this thing.
Wow.
It stirs a lot of emotion with family, with customers, the whole journey, the pains, the gains, probably a lot of the pains more so. But there's an emotional connection. My father passed away in 2013. But this is why I'm still here. This is how it all evolved for me. Everyone loves the innovation and the solutions we come up with, but people don't know how you got there, you know? It's like a lot of times people congratulate someone when they're pregnant, but they don't know how many times they've been to get there. So when I look at this and hold it, it's almost like I've got these visions of so many things coming into my head of the story that I've been through.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Like, you know, there's such a rich tapestry with this item and so many stories that come from it. Like, I feel quite privileged.
Yeah, you are. Well, you brought that out. You brought it out.
So you've given me so much gold in that introduction. Now I want to ask you in 1 minute, well, in less than a minute.
Yep.
I'd like you to share, and I'm going to time this. This is the new thing for us. Woo! I know. Okay. So in less than a minute, your number one business advice or lesson learned.
If there's one piece of advice that I've learned or that I'd give to people, if it is, you know certainly what you want to do, you need to just back yourself and never give up. It really is that simple. It's so easy to quit. The fact is, there's no smooth sailing story in business. I don't think any entrepreneur, successful one, is going to say it was a smooth ride. There you go, you got it.
I'm like pressing buttons.
10 more seconds there, but that's all right. No, that was good. No, that's it.
Good. Well done. Okay, so back yourself. I think for me, you know, and certainly in small business, I 100% hear you. How do people, you know, you said if you know you've got a good idea, I think like sometimes that challenge comes in questioning yourself.
Yeah, if getting it to the people that want it in amongst all the other noise that's out there, be it your competition, that's not enough reason to not go ahead with it. I just believe that you need to know that if you've got people, and these days with social media, you can get feedback from your client very quickly. You just got to go out there, and if someone says it smells or it's not good, then accept that and maybe ask why. Because then you find that you can redirect it. And sometimes there's a concept of a good idea, but it just needs to be refined, and it shows up in another avenue.
Now, so we're going to do a second minute. From the biggest challenges, failures, you know, what have you learnt, you know, to get you back up again?
A lot of time people say things are hard because they've never done it. You know, the one thing I've learned is don't listen to advice from the non-achievers. It might sound crude and rude, but it's just a fact. Listen to those that have gone through it because they will inspire you and they know what's expected. You know, you never hear bad advice from people saying you can't do it that have done it.
All right, okay, so there's a couple of other things that you've touched on there that I really want to build on as well.
Yep.
And so some of that is around the business changes and how your business has grown and how you know, what's that journey been like?
If you're building a business where you're running a marathon and it's more legacy involved, and my grip set business, I feel that way. I feel there's a way for us to influence the industry. People are your number one thing when you're going to build that sort of business, because If it's a small one that you want to flog off, you might be able to do it with a 2 or 3 man show, but I can't do what I'm doing without just a remarkable team. And that journey I've learnt is finding people that are not a clone of you. That's where I find a lot of business owners go wrong, is they don't like a conversation with someone that's not what they or how they think. They need to share the culture. My culture is work ethic and resilience, and for the end goal. But I value uncomfortable discussions. A lot of people avoid discomfort situations or uncomfortable conversations, but actually that's where all the magic is. I don't care what role they're in. I'd rather them say, Phil, this is wrong here, or we should be looking at it like this. And then it's okay, I want to hear why. And then where do we go from that? At the end of the day, deep down if they're on track or not. But there's the little gems in those conversations. And so, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's how you stretch your boundary and you grow individually as the CEO or the MD of the business, and your people grow.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Getting comfortable in the uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, uncomfortable doesn't mean it's negative. Just because someone doesn't agree with you isn't negative. When people have a negative connotation to it, it's like they bring a problem to the room, but they don't bring a solution. The negativity, that's my pet hate. Pessimism, I just got no time for pessimists or negative. And that energy, and the older I get, the less patience I've got with that. I can feel the hairs on my neck just come up when I'm in a room and I hear someone with that pessimistic view. But when someone's got an intelligent bit of dialogue going on and they bring up something, that's when a lot of good stuff comes from that.
So talking about that then, for you through business, what has been the best way for you to bring customers along on your journey? And not just so that they're there with you on the journey, but then so that they're engaging and buying, because obviously that's the end goal. You
can't just go and mass sell. If you're in the commodity line, we want to sell cheap eggs and cheap milk, then price wins and people will just go with that. But they're not engaging with you. They'll swap tomorrow for another brand that saves you 50 cents a carton or whatever. The reality is price doesn't win all the time. It's the value. In our industry, building, I see so often with building supply products where some of these corporate brands have got no idea, but by chance they've just had a great salesperson, and the salesperson goes from this business to this business tomorrow and all the clients go with him. And that to me reflects a poor brand, because the brand wasn't who engaged with the customer, it was the individual. So what do you do then internally within your business to build the strength of your brand? I take time out now with my senior management team. Every month we have a 1.5 hour workshop. We bring a temp in to look after the phones, and everyone comes in and we have a focus point. So we had, a couple of years ago, we did a whole 6-7 month series on customer centric. And the thing that I've forgotten a lot of, and I've been reminded by some great people in my organisation, is to share your vision with your people. So often, and I don't do it, and I'll put my hand up, I've been bad at that, because I'm just always on to the next big thing. I think that internal communication is so important. Yeah, it is. I mean, we've got a team of 3, and then we're not all full time, and yet we found we weren't sticking to our regular weekly meetings, and between 3 of us, and we're in one room. Yeah, you get better because of people with you, but you do have to bring some disciplines in, and that's an important
half an hour on a Wednesday morning's made all the difference.
And the time management piece goes with that. That's the one thing I've been learning, is that if you don't make time, it just will never come. If you go, next week we'll meet, schedule that time, schedule the agenda for that time, and nail those things. I think Bill Gates said everyone gets 24 hours in a day. So what is it that Branson does versus Bill Gates versus Warren Buffett versus Mark Bouris and someone that's going nowhere fast? Because a lot of them will put out fires in those 24 hours instead of actually doing the work that's going to move the business forward. And that's where you're going to make every minute count. So talking about communication then, and you mentioned that social technology, utilising that to spread the human connection. What channels are you finding are really achieving that for your business? Look, Facebook and Instagram definitely for us. We do use LinkedIn on our Gripset business because we do deal with a lot of professionals in that piece. But the LinkedIn one, surprisingly, is more my profile's been in there because you want to be deemed as the expert in the industry to a certain extent. But, you know, Facebook and Instagram now with video, people like to watch and voice, obviously, your podcast because, and I don't know what the next big thing will be. You know, I speak to some businesses and they're using Snapchat really successfully. Now, it would be very naive to think Snapchat's only for 15 to 20-year-olds because there are a lot of older people that are getting on it. We don't use, and I've been reluctant to use things like television and even radio for the fact that, not that they don't work, but what they're costing versus what, you know, if I spend $10,000 on television advertising, what I can get with Facebook and direct people to the right, you know, you can pick your demographic.
Yeah, it's targeted.
It's phenomenal. And so it's the way of the future. There's no doubt about that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Phil. I feel like we could talk forever, but we won't because I know you've got time and you're scheduled. But in conclusion, can you please share with me Phil's Be the Drop tip? So that is your top tip for communication that connects.
Listen before you talk is definitely the first one. And when you believe something, just go with it because there's nothing worse than not going what you really feel and finding that you've just held on to it for so long. A lot of the things that I found came successful in my early years, I actually knew the answer, but I didn't believe enough at the time, thinking, oh, I'm only 25, I'm only 28, I should know this now, I need to listen to others, and it was right. When you're deeply in your business and you know it and you've done all your work, that doesn't say don't listen, but that's what I'm saying, listen first what's around you, but when you know it, your heart and your head, when that sort of line connects and it's a strong wire, a cable that's tied to it, hang on to it and fly.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Phil.
No problem.